Hello, everyone out in YouTube. We're so excited about having you back here at East Oak Studio. Uh, this is Lewis, as usual, and we have not done a painting from life in like 4 months. So we are so excited about being back. Today has been one of those days where I've realized that because we are a bit rusty getting everything ready to go for the live stream because we've been out for so long. But I will say we have a fun East Oaktober time here. We're going to try to, we decided to have our dear friend Nate, who is going to be modeling for us. Wave to the camera, Nate. What we're going to do is we will have a live feed on Nate during the time. And on one of the next breaks, we will try to take a shot of him for reference for people in the future, considering that we're going to be doing this for a couple of weeks. So we thought it would be fun, considering that it is Halloween season, that we would do something sort of costumey. So we have him all cloaked up. And he was even able to bring his blue orb today. And like eventually what we're going to do is use that as like reflected light and then have that as like him conjuring something up in his hand. So we're going to have fun. And we're looking forward to seeing and talking to all of you. Just as always, tell us where you're coming from. I see Cindy is in there. Yes, it is. We have our sorcerer up there. So we are so glad to have our East Oaks family from around the world to be joining us tonight. It's been a long time coming. So, without further ado, I'm going to turn the mic over on the back end to Fina, one of our artists in residence here at East Oak Studio. Her voice is so much more fun to listen to than mine. She's got this fabulous Irish accent. So, and she is doing her debut switchering on the back end. So I'll be helping her going in and out. Just to let everyone know, this is going to be a 2-session time. We are taking a break next week, but then we will be back with everyone for one final session. So, so join us as soon as we get the images up. You can join us there. Like I said, you can start with the live feed and then continue to move forward. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. And Chelsea, I'm going to push it over to you while I actually get everything set up on my end, because as usual, I'm a little late to the party. All right, hold on. You're not on. There you go. Okay.
Okay. Well, no, you're in good company. And for anyone out there who never quite feels prepared for a painting session, I hope this gives you a real sense of this is completely normal. So what I'm going to do before I actually dive in and start painting is I just want to make sure that Nate's totally good to go as our model and that he's in a pose that he can sustain. And it also takes advantage of all the costuming. Usually this is something that happens off camera because typically the pose is like pretty straightforward, but given that we have other elements, I thought it'd be interesting for us to just kind of walk through the checklist of what we look for before we actually dive into the painting itself. So, Nate, all right. I know you're not mic'd up, but that's okay. I can hear you. I'm looking for a couple things here. One, I know I already mentioned to you, I'm probably not going to have you do something overly complex with your fingers. We do have 2 sessions, but still, I don't know any artists who are like, yay, let's do more painting hands. Yeah, that seems like an activity in masochism. So I have like a slightly simpler setup. The other thing I want to check is just the direction of Nate's gaze, like seeing if that adds to the storytelling part of the pose in any way. And then because Lewis has talked about maybe integrating the orb as like a visual element, I just want to see if whatever pose we finalize, whether there's a way to make it so that we could easily integrate that. And there's also kind of a question of like, do we need him holding this orb up in every session, or can we do something a little bit more flexible? So I think first things first, I like that we're not getting like overly complex with the fingers. You know, I think we're in a decently sustainable pose. Other than maybe the elbow he's leaning on, we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on that, especially since that will impact like the anatomy of his cheek and stuff if he were to take his arm away to rest it. That being said, out of curiosity, can you just show me if you do hold the orb, how the pose could potentially shift? Okay, that actually is a little bit more, honestly, it looks a little bit more comfortable to me with you leaning back, and it could, yeah, be a little bit easier. I know that your arm would get tired, but the pose doesn't really change depending on whether the orb is in shot or not. Out of curiosity, if you go ahead and like, this is such an internet meme, but if you can gaze into the orb, I just want to see how the direction of like your eye cast kind of changes.
You want like front of face.
I think let's start with the angle you're at now. Pause. I would say start with something natural, considering there's already some inherent like physicality to the pose. I don't want to start from something that will be unsustainable. What happens if you lift your chin a little bit, but still keep your eyes down? How does that feel? Okay, awesome. All right. I like this. I think this is like fairly neutral. You could easily like take the orb down and you would be just fine. Yeah, that doesn't change too much. I'm curious. I don't want to get like sucked into indecision. As you set up and you look at this, do you have any thoughts that come out, different angles you might want to just quickly look at before we finalize the pose and settle in?
No, I think that's has a really nice look over on this side. So,
okay.
I'm going to probably move mine spot like right here.
Okay. Nate, if you take the orb totally down, but you continue to like look in that same direction, do you have a spot for your eye to fall on that isn't just the orb itself, given that it's moved? I think maybe gazing a little bit more down. Yeah, I think that looks a little bit more, regardless of whether the orb is up or not, it can easily look like you're intently looking into it versus like staring off into space. So I think that works as well. Okay. If you would like to just go ahead and get comfortable, like you can totally set the orb down because in these early stages, we don't get a lot of light off of it. We're not getting any color off of it. Lewis and I won't be diving into color in any way. So yeah, I would just go ahead and get comfy. Do you need any kind of tape, anything else just to help find the pose a second time and a third and fifth and 17th?
I think if you take maybe those,
okay.
it could probably.
Everybody's getting to see behind the scenes and how we set
Yeah,
poses.
I'm actually like really glad that we're walking through this. I hope y'all find it interesting, just because I know before I really came here and got to do these painting from life sessions, the idea of setting up a model felt, I don't know, there's like something kind of sacred about it, and I worried too much that I wouldn't know what I was doing to actually just jump in and do it. But the reality is that it's super casual. It's not the kind of thing where there are all these rules. Like Nate literally has his foot propped up on a pack of paper towel rolls. You know, I don't know exactly how his costume is made up, but I think is probably more improvised than people might imagine. And that's kind of the nature of creating these compositions. Lewis, you might want to also just tape where we have the paper towel roll on the floor, since there's a good chance that'll move between now and 2 weeks from now.
100%.
Yeah. But yeah, often, you know, there's not really rules about this stuff. It usually comes down to what you personally find visually interesting. And just getting kind of scrappy behind the scenes with all of your props, with your light. You know, we don't actually have to have a crystal ball to have like a really cool orb effect with all this glowing light. I'm super excited to paint this. So thanks, Nate, for like working through this on camera. And for anyone at home, I hope this has been kind of a helpful look. I'm certainly not the pro at setting up a model. Like, I think Lewis has it much more down to a science, but hopefully this just demonstrates that you don't have to have it down to a science. You can absolutely have a friend or family member sitting for you. And so long as you just have a dialogue about what's comfortable and you're looking in terms of what's interesting to you as the painter, you should be pretty good to go. And thankfully, Louis already has a really great setup here where we have very clear light and shadow patterns on his face. We've already kind of been thinking about the colors, so that piece is good to go. If we were in a situation where I really couldn't see any clear light and shadow, we would have done some more dramatic tweaking.
And I'm also going to just take a reference photo just so that I can get you back in the same spot. And I'll take a better one for the audience a little bit later. But this will help me be able to get you set up in the same spot that you were.
Awesome.
All right. I think
Yeah.
we're ready to actually start putting some paint on the canvas, huh?
Yeah, I think so. Let's hope I actually have some paint on here that's wet. All right. So I'm not going to start off with anything fancy. I might kind of like mass in some background values here in a moment, but for right now, I'm much more concerned with what exactly is going to go onto canvas, and how am I going to fit it? Because I don't have as large of a panel as Louis, and one like kind of literal rule of thumb is I want to make sure that I'm not painting his head at like a thumb size. There's no way I'm going to get in all of his features if he's that small. And that's kind of what would be necessary if I tried to paint all of him. So I know that I'm really going to be zeroing in on the face, but now the question becomes how much of his costuming is going to naturally fit on the canvas if I'm painting his face at a decent size. So I think first things first, I know I want the very top of his cowl in there. And because this is fabric, I'm not going to get overly attached to the exact shape that this is making, because this is something that we just won't be able to control perfectly session after session.
So I saw that, Mark, you had a comment about the pose and not being able to see it, the whole pose with the camera. When we take the reference photos, you'll have more of the entirety of that pose. I'll make sure that we do that on break. So that shouldn't be an issue of us walking through things in the future. Don't worry, we're going to get there. So.
All right.
We're just fixing some of the mics.
But this is like right at what I would say my minimum is. I usually really want to be painting a face no smaller than like the size of a fist, if I want to be able to get in the features in a meaningful way. So thankfully I can get in a good bit of the costuming without that being just objectively too small for me to be set up for success. And I think that idea of being set up for success is something that just isn't talked about enough. It doesn't matter who you are. You could be a Draper Grand Prize winner. It is nearly impossible to make a really great painting when you don't have all the prerequisites going for you. Like if you don't have a good setup with your model, if your lighting isn't good, if you're working off of a photo reference and it's like something you snapped on your iPhone, if you're painting it too small, if you're using materials you're not used to, like don't expect yourself to be a miracle worker in these cases. And I think so often the painters that I work with will come to me asking questions, feeling like really stuck around this stuff. And it's not because it's not actually a reflection of their skill level or ability. It's simply that, you know, the professionals will go through the time and effort to really make sure that they're set up for success. And that's not to say that like professionals will hit it out of the park every time. We won't. Yeah. But it creates this illusion of us being successful more often because we are so in this rhythm of setting things up in a very predictable way that we know works for us.
So everyone, one of the reasons we're starting a little delayed today is because I have been the platform we use to stream to you. I've been on the chat and on the phone with them all day trying to figure out this glitch issue that when the stream goes out, every now and again we have freeze frames. And so as we speak, they keep asking me if it's on our end, and everything has been the exact same way. And so they are continuously working on it to see if we can get that thing figured out. But every now and again, you'll see us stop or freeze. And I apologize for that. But the other thing is, well, it's free for now, you know? And so hopefully it won't stutter enough to where you can't follow along. Chelsea, I'm just trying to give you a chance to have a head start. You know,
that's so kind of you. Like, you're the most generous person, but especially generous as a live stream host.
All right, let's see if I can actually put some drawing up here. We also have, because we're doing it on these days, I also have a few mentees here that will be drawing with us and hanging out with us. So my dear friends and mentee Joe Piven is in the background hanging out with us. And Chelsea's partner Carla is in the background hanging out with us. So we get to have lots of people to hang out with us today. And they better be careful. I might mic them up so that they can add to the conversation.
Give us a chance to like actually get some
something on, yeah. So, but we appreciate Nate humoring us and costuming up. I tried really hard to find a suit of armor for him today, but alas, I started too late on trying to find that. But look for that in the future. We're definitely going to give that a go.
So I did a test of a bunch of mediums that I haven't tried before, and one of them was doing like a more robust test of Galkid light, which I've used before, but I saw in I think it was like Todd Casey who had the Gamblin folks on a little like webinar series on YouTube and talking about material safety and just like different materials considerations with oil painting. And one point that Gamblin rep made is that doing your initial wash with Gamsol isn't particularly archival. For anyone who loves Richard Schmid, you'll know that effect that I'm talking about, where you have this early wash that almost looks like watercolor, and then the rest of the oil painting is built on top of that. Well, those early washes, in some paintings were probably turpentine, but in some almost certainly Gamsol, because I know one, that Richard Schmid eventually shifted to using that, but two, we're kind of at a point where turpentine just isn't really used in the same way anymore. So
Yeah, the only people that I know that use it still on a common basis are plein air painters, because it evaporates so quickly, especially during the winter, because the quick evaporation will help them kind of get something down and then be able to paint on top of it as it dries really quickly. But for a lot of reasons, there's a lot of people that don't want to use it, just because it's not good for you to breathe in, as well as the flash point is so low. So if you leave it in your car, you run a risk of it combusting.
I actually hadn't heard that about the flash point. That's a good point for sure. So that Gamblin rep had said that if you're wanting to get down one of those like translucent washes, experiment with Galkid light, because I believe, I'm not a materials scientist, this isn't my domain, but I think if I recall what she mentioned with some level of accuracy, that the resin that is in here helps to stabilize that paint film, that early paint film. Because the main concern with Gamsol isn't like a safety concern per se. It's the fact that it might compromise your paint film in some way, because it wasn't really meant to be used like water in watercolor. It's kind of like an off-label use, so to speak. So since then, and since I think one of the last Painting from Life sessions, I did a more aggressive experiment with Galkid light to see like just how transparent I could get it and how sort of close to a Gamsol wash it can be. And actually, I think it's quite nice. It's definitely different than Gamsol, but this is what I'm using today for all the early layers. I don't have any Gamsol out. So for folks at home who really don't want to be using solvents, just know that while I'm not using water mixable oils, I'm also not using solvent, and it is going just fine.
Yeah, so far I have not pulled out the solvent, but you make me kind of now want to do the Galkid.
Well, I have a whole little jar over here if you want to play with it.
I thought at one point they kind of like, I don't know if it was discontinued. Maybe it was I don't know if it was Galkid Light or if it was a different type of Galkid. But I remember having a very difficult time trying to find it for one of our artists, our visiting artists that came.
Interesting.
And I can't remember which one it was. But anyway.
I was able to pick up both recently. So as far as I know, there's nothing like actively stopping somebody from getting it.
Mm-hmm.
I really was intending to dive in here by like really thoughtfully mapping out my drawing, but like all I find myself wanting to do is lay down some color harmonies. I might start that way, just like massing in some base color off of which I can draw into later.
Fina, how much time do we have left in this one session?
We have about 8 minutes and 30 seconds left.
All right.
And now you've given me the opportunity, because you guys were both chatting up a storm. There's from Miguel, how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling so much better.
And then also a question for Chelsea. Chelsea, your linen looks very rough. What is it?
This is, I can never remember if it's the 13 or the 15, but this is a Raymar panel. And this is the Clausen's double oil primed linen. And it is I want to say it's the 13 that I'm thinking of. It's the one that has a green label, which is the finer of the two linens. So if you compare it to Louis, which looks like it's just an ACM panel with gesso, which like really has very minimal texture. There is some texture on here, but I would still say it's fairly subtle. It just looks more aggressive than Louis will, I think, by default. Oh, the nice thing about laying down color harmonies is, I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm just going to cover it up later. But
let's see about making some skin tone color, pushing that through. Yes, COVID was not fun. That was believe it or not, that was my first time getting it.
oh,
And so, you know, it's kind of hard to get it here, considering that your occupation quarantines you.
yeah.
You know, so since my studio is at my home, there's very few opportunities for me to actually acquired said virus. But yes, it was pretty rough. I had a sore throat that was pretty crazy. That was the main part that was tough. That was the biggest challenge, was the sore throat. Everything else was very manageable. I had fever, but it wasn't bad. And from there, I just sat in bed a lot and read a whole lot, and it was kind of nice. It kind of forced me to take a break. But then poor Fina also got it, and I'm sad to think I might have actually given it to her. So, so she's been up. This is her first day back too.
It is, yes. And honestly, I think it's just the season with everyone going back to school and to work and everything. So, you know, I'm better now. So that's all that matters.
I'm glad both of y'all are doing better. That sucks.
It was no fun, but it's no fun for anyone. And so I think it was my turn. But Chelsea, what have you been up to lately, huh?
What have I not been up to, frankly?
Busy girl.
Yes, very, very busy. I have right now a new commission that I'm working out my composition for. I already have like a gorgeous reference photo for it, and I'm just kind of experimenting with how exactly do I want to interpret that reference photo, since I do a lot of like abstraction and simplification with brushwork and things like that. I don't want to just say like, all right, I have the reference photo, now I'm going to dive in and go by the seat of my pants. So I've been doing a lot of like mocking up that reference and kind of experimenting with different visions for what that particular piece could look like as it turns out. So that is a priority. I also just have a larger team helping me now, so
it's really nice.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of training on that end, and really all this comes down to is like removing myself from the more day-to-day operations of running an art business so that I can just focus on the teaching piece and the art making itself. But turns out that's kind of a full-time job.
Oh yeah.
the training part of that. So I kind of feel like I am doing the work of 7 people at the moment. I understand now why like master artists would have an entire studio of apprentices, because I don't know how the heck you get anything done otherwise.
Wouldn't that be nice to
Yeah.
have a whole studio full of just, honestly, if I could just have somebody put my paint out, you know, I would be a happy camper.
How
So-
many minutes a day does this take you?
What, to put
To
my
put your
paint
paint
out?
out, yeah.
Well,
Let's work it out. Let's create a system right now.
I love it. So here's the thing. It is more about like my scattered ADD brain that goes, okay, oh, I forgot. I need to put out oxide red. I left that in the garage because I was toning canvases yesterday. And then you go up to the garage, and when you enter the garage, you go, oh my gosh, the garage is so disorganized. I need to start organizing the garage. So then you start cleaning up the garage, and then you realize that there's something broken and you need to fix it. And then you realize you left the drill downstairs. So you go downstairs to grab the drill.
Right.
Once you grab the drill, you realize that you're missing the whole set of bits. Now, all the bits were left in the bathroom because you were like fixing something else in the bathroom, and you left that instead of the drill. So you go there, and then somebody goes, "Hey, I have a question. What about X, Y, or Z?" And then so you go help them with the question, and before you know it, it's been an hour and a half. And so then I go back up to the garage and realize, oh, the whole reason I came up, or I go back to the painting and I go, oh, the whole reason I came up to the garage is because I got to go get that color. And then that starts a whole nother cycle, So that's more of the situation than it is that it takes a really long time to put out my paint.
Okay.
So,
All right. Brain's working. You have this beautiful little cork board with all your paints on them.
yes.
How often do you have a color that only, like, one, are you working off of the cork board most of the time, or do you keep the cork board so that you feel nice about how beautiful it is, but then don't use it?
Oh, I actually use it all the time.
Okay,
So
great.
this analogy is not necessarily the true nature of things. It's just like an example.
Yes.
But no, I actually use the corkboard a lot, so it works really well.
Okay. Well, that's a good sign.
Yeah.
How often do you have a color that should be on the cork board that's not on the cork board?
Almost never.
Okay. I want an updated day in the life story then. If
I was
not,
just saying it would be nice to have somebody do it for you.
I mean, I
But,
agree. I feel you.
I think that sometimes it's a psychological thing of getting started is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like if somebody, now of course, this is one of those things where if you had somebody do the thing, then you'd want somebody to do the extra thing aside from that, right? But in your mind, you have this thing going on in your head. It's like, if somebody would just get the paint out, then that's enough start for me to like get myself to the canvas.
Yeah.
So, all right, everyone, that's the time for the first session. We're going to let Nate rest for half a second, and we will be back. I'm going to try to see if I can get a reference shot really quick for everyone. That might not be able to be posted in the 5 minutes, but I'll get close. Okay?
Yes, and I can see we have a few questions and things in the chat. So after the break, we will address those. So back soon. my God, there we go. Hi, everybody. We're back from our break now. So as you can see, we were fiddling around with the camera views, and we now have a nice little shot of the model and also both of the panels as well. And I can also go through, we have quite a few.
Actually, I kind of like that. Do you want how's your angle?
I'm fine.
Okay, great.
I don't even
stay
know what
right there.
changed.
Stay right there. I like it. I mean, a millimeter changed.
Oh,
and
great.
that's okay because I like this better.
But yes, we have.
I'll wait for him to stop laughing at your comment.
Saying
Shit,
that,
now I made it worse.
there is someone saying they've tried Galkid, but they couldn't handle the odor. I can relate with that. I do actually use water-soluble paints because I don't like using solvents. Odors of them always give me headaches as well. And I've been using Cobra at the moment and finding like them great, you know. And then some other people saying they've tried, 50-50 of Gamsol and Galkid in school. That's what they were taught as their medium.
Let's see. I was going to find.
Interesting. I totally would have assumed that if someone was more sensitive to something, they'd be more sensitive to Gamsol than the Galkid.
I'm going to try your Galkid line.
This is a separate
Hell
person.
yeah.
A little bit in here.
Oh,
Look at that.
Yeah, I'm working out of my cap, so yeah, you're fine.
This will be plenty. See, this is why you work with other friends and artists.
It's,
then you're like, oh, I want to try the thing
I was
that you're
scrambling
doing.
to get everything in the car, and I was like, I don't have time to like go back through a checklist of everything. I just need to assume that I have all the supplies that I need. And I was like, this is the beauty of coming over here.
Right.
So long as I have a panel and I have an easel.
Yeah, you're good to go.
I knew I had my brushes. I was like, okay, it can't be that bad. Like I couldn't have forgotten anything that critical. I'll be completely honest. I'm just gonna put in some stuff, and we'll just see if these colors feel totally wrong. Like it's the beauty of oil paint. I can cover it up.
Yeah, experiment. See, I always tell people that one of the things you should fear is to get yourself so confined to a certain system that you lose the passion of discovery. Because sometimes that's why we get into this racket, is because we enjoy discovering some new interesting things. So
I like that a lot.
Keep discovering, people.
Yeah, it's not like watercolor. Like we don't have to be super methodical in exactly how things go down. At least not alla prima. I guess the exception would be if you really want that kind of watercolor Richard Schmid effect, which sometimes I do, but even then, you have a lot of leeway to put stuff down on the canvas, just so long as it doesn't get too thick. And if you are looking to have any kind of transparent effects, that you account for those and you just leave them undisturbed, then it should be pretty good, actually. And I can't tell you how many times I've come in here and tried something and messed it up and then had a really clear takeaway of like, oh yeah, I need to make sure I don't do that thing again.
Well, how many times have you decided to try the thing right before the 5-minute timer on the last session?
Oh, it's like,
yeah. You're like, oh, I think I'm going to try this thing. It's like, how many times has that worked out for you?
Yeah, it's like the end of a therapy session where you're like, oh, and by the way, this really traumatic thing happened. Anyway, I'll see you next session. Thank you so much. Yeah.
And yes, I can see a Gail has asked, Nate's dangling left hand looks like it might be fun to draw. Will that make it into one of the references?
It will. So when we were setting up, we intentionally set a pose to where Nate could start hand down. And then as our paintings develop, we can have him do some sessions hand up, because that is just objectively more taxing. So yeah, I'm sure Lewis is going to get some references
Yes.
with those different hand poses as well. But I kind of, I don't know, I don't imagine we're going to like dive into that today.
Yeah. So also, just so everyone knows, we're actually going to have a session that's not live streamed next week because Chelsea won't be in town for that one. So we're gonna postpone it for one more week. So you'll get like session 1 and session 3. So I might actually tackle some of that more in session 2, or at least kind of get it ready. But the reference of it will be today. I'll make sure that that's up. I was trying to adjust one of y'all's camera angles so that y'all could see both of our our panels at the same time. And so I'll have to, as soon as I get an opportunity, I'll put up another reference shot. But at least every now and again, Fina will switch over to making sure that everyone gets to see
Our
a
reference.
full shot reference of Nate, because I readjusted the cameras just so that everyone could see the full shot. So the beauty of having extra cameras to do those kinds of things. It's quite nice. So right now I'm just kind of like establishing some of the color harmonies and relationships, not paying too much attention quite yet to the drawing aspect of things. And I decided to do a cool lighting source because I think we rarely do a cool light.
Yeah.
So I thought it would be fun to, and it also fits Nate's personality. Nate has a particular passion for the color blue. So
Yeah, we're certainly getting like a really awesome ethereal sorcerer vibe. And you know what's funny? I'm really excited that we're digging into this pose and this like costuming and setup today, along with these colors, because last time we were painting together, it wasn't a painting from live stream session, but I had set the pose and I remember thinking, I wish I had set a more like narrative pose. And we have much more of that opportunity today.
it's a vibe.
Yeah.
I actually think it'd be fun. Maybe we should like call up Kai while we're working on this and get him on the final session. I want to see, there should be a way where I can use the platform that I use to be able to call someone in, get them on. And the thing we got to work out is our audio in our ears so we can hear him talk. So anyway, so I'm going to try to see if he would like to join us, because he would like not only fly circles around this subject matter with us, but it would just be fun to have him on to add to the conversation.
Yeah.
So. Also, everyone, we are having our next boutique workshop coming up with the great Jared Brady. So we're really excited about having him here.
Me too.
So he is such a fabulous painter. He's going to do a still life, and there's going to be 6 spots openings for artists to come be in person. And it's going to be a great time. We love doing these small workshops because it gives people a real opportunity to have a lot of face time with the painter, the artist the guest artist who's coming in. And so really looking forward to having him here. Yeah,
that's super exciting. And like I'm so glad that you were able to snag him. So if anyone isn't familiar with Jared's work, he's an OPA gold medalist. He's an incredible incredible alla prima oil painter, but just has like such an expressive painterly style. He's an awesome colorist, but just painted some absolute knockout still life paintings. And he really hasn't, like, people haven't been able to get workshops with him. So the fact that he's coming here is awesome. I'm like so grateful to
Yeah, we're
be
lucky.
so close. I might have to snag one of those workshop spots. So that is just to say, if y'all are tempted, you should get your spot.
Yeah. And you get to come experience East Oak Studio in person and be around all the artists. So we always have such a good time. We have a big potluck that we do, where we have all of the local artists that we're all very close with that are part of the East Oaks family come in, and it's a blast. We really have a good time. So we make it a lot of fun here.
What are the dates for that workshop?
Let's see, they're the very beginning of December. So right off the top of my head, let me just double check those dates so that I tell you exactly correct. It is December 5th through the 7th is when the actual workshop is happening.
Amazing.
So
Have you announced that
still
officially yet? Is everyone getting like early access?
Yes, we have announced it on our email, but we haven't announced the specific subject matter. So you're hearing it first here, people. It's going to be a still life is the subject matter because he's so good at that, and he has yet to do, I think. I think he's done maybe one other still life workshop. But anyway, I think that part's going to be a lot of fun, and we're going to make sure that he's going to cover a lot of different things, like how to compose the still life, and also how to, how to paint like copper, how to paint glass, flowers. So he's going to go over like all of the specific things that he's known for in his work. And so that's going to be loads of fun.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I actually have one of his still lives with copper and absolutely love it. Like as soon as I saw it, I sent him a message and was like, Jared, please tell me this is for sale because I'm buying it. Because he has such skill with it. So I'm so glad that that's like the setup and approach y'all are doing. That's really cool.
Yeah, we have those dates from the 5th to the 7th of December.
Isn't it nice having a beautiful, lovely Irish accent on the other side of that mic instead of hearing my country bumpkin Mississippi accent?
You don't have, like, please, everyone in the chat, tell me, do you think Lewis has a country bumpkin Mississippi accent?
Get me around the right friends, or my mom. I'll be talking to my mom, and people will be like, "Yeah, that Southern drawl comes out." I wish I had my grandfather's accent, though. He had the most like Southern gentleman drawl, similar to like Shane Neal talks about one of his clients. It's like this old Southern. You don't hear it anymore, and it was so lovely to listen to him talk. But it's one of those things over time. It's just kind of like lost to history, lost to time.
You ever watch those TikToks of Patsy from the clerk's office?
No.
I can't do it. Carla can do it, but she's not mic'd up. But she should, because she does a really good impression of it.
Well, we might just have to mic Carla up later just so that she can perform for us. I know she's so excited about that opportunity.
She's running out of the room as we speak.
Yep.
we already have people saying, no, you have a great voice.
No.
And then we have Tia asking, let's see, how do you say coffee?
Coffee.
I did not believe that for a second.
It's funny, I used to have a company in the South, and every now and again, some of my fellow competitors, but we're all very close, they would call me on the phone. And anytime I'm like talking to somebody that has that accent, I don't know if y'all are like this, but I tend to like start shifting my accent subconsciously to sound like them. And so I had this one guy that would call, and he was telling me he was going to get out of the business, and he wanted me to buy his business from him. And I'll never forget him calling one day, and he said, "You know, Lewis, I've been in this for 17 years, and I'm tired, Lewis. I'm tired. I can't do it anymore." You know. And he started, and I was like, "Well, Steve, what do you want to do?" He's like, "Well, here's the deal. I've got an offer for you, and if you want to take it, you know, I think it'll be a really good fit for you." But when he would talk, all of a sudden, I immediately would just start talking just like him. And I remember everyone that was in the studio, and I started talking to him, and they were like, "Who are you talking to?" Because your accent just got so thick.
Yeah, this does happen to me. It happens to me with the dance studio with an accent that isn't even mine. I'll be talking to like a dancer that I work with all the time who has come over from Ukraine, and she started learning English day one off of the plane. So over the course of my knowing her for the past 2 years now, we have gone from she had to run over and get help to say hi and introduce herself to now we're totally good, but I find myself inadvertently slipping into like her grammatical like quirks as a show of like, I guess it's kind of a show of like, hey, I am your people. Right. You are safe here.
Yeah, to make them feel comfortable. But the sad thing is, it's kind of embarrassing because you're subconsciously doing it, and you hope that you're not offending them, trying to like, you know, find common ground in some way, shape, or form.
And I know for her, for instance, she's like correct me, like you talk normal, so that I actually learn. But I will inadvertently drift into talking exactly the way that she does more often than not.
Not gonna lie, kind of liking the Galkid light.
Yeah.
This is kind of nice.
I will say, when I did this test, I did bust out like a little bit of turpentine to compare, and I was like, why does the turpentine have to be so nice? But I was like actually very impressed with the like range of thinness that I could actually get with a Galkid light. I actually need to shift over to gel medium at this point. I've covered enough of the canvas that continuing with the Galkid light I don't think is ideal for what I'm doing. But yeah, it's nice.
It works. It also works well with combers, because I'm like working with a comber right now. And when typically at this stage I would be using a bristle, hog's hair, because I just need there to be some paint on there, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm actually finding that it thins it out enough to where the comber doesn't feel like you're painting with a wet noodle. You know?
That's a very good description of painting with a comber. They are
very wet noodly, right?
Yeah. Like, I remember the first time I used one because I had watched a bunch of Daniel Keyes demos, and I was like, oh, today's the day. My combers have come in, and I'm going to paint like Daniel. And yeah. So if anyone has ever felt that way, you're not alone.
Right, exactly.
And I busted that thing out and never wanted to throw a brush in a fire faster. I was like, how on earth is this thing so finicky and hard to work with? And it just took a lot of time of, honestly, like letting the brush show me how it wanted to be used versus me thinking I could just bend it to my will. But I recommend it to my students because it'll really break you of the habit of painting in a way where you jam your bristles into the canvas and over rely on a stiff bristle to compensate for not using enough paint and not having it be the right viscosity.
Yeah, I hear that.
Okay. Yes.
Go for it.
Yes, everybody. That's another 20 minutes. So we're going to take a short 5-minute break. So we'll see you guys afterwards. I'm going to go ahead and mute. Okay, everybody, we're back now. So
A little bit wet. Yeah. Go that way just a touch. Rotate your
What do you want?
rotate
Your
your
whole
taste, your
face?
face. Rotate this way. Just
Yep.
up. That way a little bit. Yeah.
If it hurts, it's the right
Yeah.
position.
I've been in way more pain.
That's good. That's good to know. Next time, we'll put you in a much more torturous position.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull back his drapery on the right just a touch.
Yeah.
Is that cool? Just the tiniest bit. How's that?
Amazing. I'm good.
Yeah?
God, I saw you fumble there, and I panicked. I thought you were about to like tumble over the ledge.
Oh. All right. Let's see. We were doing so good with conversation, all of a sudden it got really quiet.
Oh, yeah.
everybody's focusing now.
That's it. Has there been any people asking any questions?
Let's see. We have from Cindy just mentioning that she's really enjoyed the book of Richard Schmidt. We have a hello from Korea from Forest.
Nice.
Which is
Wow.
very cool, very far away. From JK, we have they've mentioned that the Rosemary Comers are the closest to the old, and they've mentioned band Agnickel Mongoose brushes.
Yeah. Yeah, I always like really wondered what those Langnickel brushes were, because I think by the time I read Alla Prima, you just didn't like, that wasn't a thing. That wasn't like a brush people were using anymore. But he worked so closely with Rosemary. And I must have learned from like watching Daniel's content, watching the videos that he put out and stuff like that, or going to his workshops, that the Comer was kind of the new alternative.
Is this ultramarine? Do you mind if I steal?
Steal away.
There we go. For some reason, my ultramarine was not on my corkboard. Oh, is it really? Oh,
really
there it is. I was sitting there, I'm like, where did that thing go? Finally, I gave up.
I want to go squirt it on.
You're watching it in live action time here.
So from like a color perspective, I'm sort of in an unusual position. Like, these are not typical flesh tones. I would say in general, my flesh tone mixtures are really predictable. It's typically some combination of Terra Rosa, yellow ochre, transparent oxide brown, and titanium white, depending on the individual. And that's like across every range of skin tone. But with this like really, really strong, cool lighting, I have a lot of ultramarine, and I have a lot of, in Visari, this is ruby red, but its closest equivalent is going to be like permanent rose. And so my portrait here is like very purple at the moment. And the question becomes, to to what extent do I leave that versus fixing it?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do this lighting, is because I think we just rarely ever do it. Like rarely paint with such a cool light source, because we're trying to like always try to get that like warm skin tone. This is a perfect example where like you can do some really cool stuff.
Mm-hmm. You know, it reminds me of being in a Carolyn Anderson workshop, and she works so high key, and her color is like so unique to her style. And I was so excited to take this workshop in part to learn how she lights her subjects and selects or creates reference images. And I was just so surprised to see her, like, she just got out a pretty standard light bulb. It had the ability to change color temperature, but like nowadays most do. So that wasn't that unusual. And she literally just tweaked it until she was like, yeah, I like how this looks. I was like, oh, is that easy? Like, I thought there'd be some kind of
like
alchemy involved or something.
Often people think there is, and that's one of the reasons why it's good to take workshops, is because sometimes it demystifies the action that feels like is going to be this like magical thing, and then you realize, oh, that's all you got to do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. It's why I still really like taking workshops, because I always have painters whose work inspires me, or whom I just really admire, and I want to know their secrets. And yeah, going there and actually learning in person and seeing it unfold. Usually it's not that I had some huge takeaway. It's really more about the permission of like, oh, I actually have the tools that I need to go out and do this. And it's the same reason why I encourage my students to do the same thing. Like when they work with me, my hope is that I, save them the need to go out and take endless classes. But once they have their fundamentals locked in, if there is something that they're running into where there's like a technique or process piece that's very specific to their desired goal, and there is an artist who teaches a workshop who practices that exact thing, I'm like, yes, like go see how it's done, especially now that you have all the foundations to be able to ask exactly for what you need. Yeah.
It's been a while since because I've been typically painting or drawing for our sessions that we do, live sessions. So it's been a while since I've actually put brush to canvas, and it always makes me go, this is a breath of fresh air. Why don't I just do it more often than I do, So great.
Well, I am very grateful to be painting here today with you, Louis, but everyone who is watching as well, because I couldn't agree more.
Right.
And there's nothing like having a model and friends and a set time.
Yep.
To force you to stop making excuses.
Some accountability.
Yeah. Does it hurt yet?
For those of you that know, Nate's not mic'd, so he gave a big sigh. It's okay. We'll try to mic him up here in a little while, and then he can be sassy back to me.
As your mind. Doing your mouth right.
I'm doing your mouth right now. So nice.
I think this would be a great time for any questions if anybody has
Yeah.
them in the chat, since we are going through a little moment of focusing and concentration with the painting.
So if anyone wants to interrupt it, ask your question now. No, seriously.
For reals.
Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Fine.
Are there multiple brushes that you have?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are. They aren't like different brush styles or anything like that. I mean, they technically are, but
But
actually,
that's not why, what you're trying to say is that's not how you're using them, is because of their brush style, or are you? Yeah.
Is this like, I don't know, I think I've had multiple. I'm just curious. If you just keep adding and adding. Just
last time I was over here painting, it did get to where I had like 7 brushes in one hand.
We
I was
call
like,
it the claw.
yeah, it was a bit much. But no, right now, everything is basically the same brush. I have some rosemary ivory filberts and some rosemary evergreen filberts, which are functionally the same brush. The evergreens are a hair softer, so I tend to like these for the transparent pigments, because those transparent pigments tend to be a little bit creamier anyway. But that works really nicely with the brush because the evergreen is a darker brush, and so dark mixtures kind of show up on the brush in a little bit more of a natural way. And then the lighter mixtures, things with more titanium white or yellow ochre, tend to be a little bit stiffer, and the ivory is a stiffer brush. They are slightly different sizes, but it has to do with, like, for instance, in painting like large passages of your hair or some of the light colors on your cheek, it makes sense for me to have a slightly larger brush than the brushes I'm using for the darks, because the dark shapes that I'm going into right now are a little bit smaller. So the brushes are kind of doing like double duty a little bit. But they aren't like, I don't have an eclipse comber in my hand, which is a very different feeling brush.
It's the one I have in my hand.
I will probably actually stick with this kind of brush for probably the bulk of the painting. This is just kind of like the style of brush that I'm preferring for the moment. Like, I've had periods where I would use others, but this just isn't one of those times.
Yes, and from JK we have to Lewis and Chelsea. Amazing, you both put down great hair with just a few strokes. And I can relate with that. He's mentioned I struggle with hair. Hair is definitely one of those things that is tricky to paint.
I really appreciate that compliment, because as I put in his hair, I was like, damn, that went well. Now don't touch it.
Don't breathe.
Yeah.
So I think I've mentioned this before, but something that happens with artists is if you make a really great stroke, you get so excited that you kind of want to recreate that stroke again,
Exactly.
and then you
just
mess it up
yeah.
because you're like put it on top
It
of
felt
what you
so
did.
good.
Yeah,
That
you're like, I want to do it
I want
again.
to feel that good again. Yes.
Yeah, and then you mess it up.
Yeah, I say this to my students all the time. Like I warn them against this exact trap of like. In fact, I remember so distinctly one of my students, Kitty. She was working on a painting and it was going really well, and she was asking me for input on like what to work on next. She had some areas she was kind of stumped on, and she was like, "I think I want to repaint all the clouds. Like I think that's where the problem is." It was objectively the part of the painting she was happiest with. And so we had to have a whole conversation, like actually clarifying the difference between what she wanted to work on versus what she needed to work on.
Mm.
And, you know, it sounds so like reductive and simple, and I tell the story that way, but like we all do this all the time.
Yeah.
It's not like, don't listen to me tell the story and think that I was over here like, you fool.
Yeah.
No, I think we all have learned this from experience.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We also have from Evelyn, did you try a lighter background color to enable the overall positive area to be more distinct, or would that lighten the whole area too much?
I am going to be totally honest on my end. I simply have not thought about any background beyond the cowl. I might actually explore darkening it. That's going to be a risky move. I'll tell you that much. As much as I've like committed to this sort of value structure with like such a strong silhouette, it's going to feel a lot more subtle if I put in those darks. But right now, where it's at is very much a product of convenience versus intention. And I'll probably start playing with the background at the point where I'm noticing that I'm tired, but I don't want to lose out on the session. So I will give myself something a little bit more straightforward to do than his face. And we'll see if I make a bad decision then. Stay tuned.
Yeah.
We also have from Tina, we have a hi,
Oh,
Chelsea.
Tina.
My Liz. Paintings look great.
Tina, I've been loving all of your social media posts. I hope you were doing fabulously. Tina put out a last call for holiday portrait commissions. So if anyone wants something gorgeous.
Yep.
Yes, I agree. Tina's paintings are so beautiful.
We miss Tina being here, part of our group, but she's with us always in spirit, and we still keep in touch quite a bit. It's a lot of fun. She's going to be making her way sort of down this direction. She's going to be in DC not too long from now with delivering a painting.
Nice.
Yep. All right, I guess, Vina, how much time do we have left in this session? It's one of those I want to make sure I've got like a couple of minutes if I'm going to like start looking at others.
We have 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the clock, so not too much left.
Yeah, exactly. It is exactly a couple of minutes, but I don't know if I think I might need a few more than that if I'm going to like work on starting to start the drapery. So I think I'll just kind of like play with a few of the color shifts and everything then. Thinking some of these shadows are, for some reason, very satisfying today.
And the soft edges.
Yeah. Oh, now you're making me want to go in.
That's the scary part. You know, I always remember when we would be at GCA at the atelier I went to. You would hear the instructor. You'd be working on like the head, and then you'd hear the instructor be like, "Okay, now on the ankle, you need to be able to change this thing." And they're talking to some other artist. They're not talking to you. And immediately you're like, "What does my ankle look like? I need to check out my ankle. Is my ankle okay?" You know, and so you inevitably start working on the ankle because you start hearing what other people are working on.
I want to ask you a question that is really silly, and you might not be able to answer it at all. But I don't speak French.
Okay. Well, nor do I. There's your answer.
Okay. But I know, like, everyone says atelier, but I'm like, there's not an I in the word. And I like looked up the French pronunciation, and they don't pronounce it with an I. And I'm like, am I missing out on something? Like, is there like an open secret about the pronunciation of this word?
This is really good.
Or did someone
that? I don't know. I
think someone probably popularized it. Like someone probably mispronounced it, but that's how they said it every time, and then everyone else did.
Yeah.
It's kind of like everyone says realtor when it's really realtor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it's just a thing. You know, over time, it just becomes a connotation dictation, a connotative dictation that people start accepting. So that's a great point. You know, and we can look it up.
I'm here to make you feel self-conscious about it every time you say it now, so it's not just me.
Well, and I mean, there's other people who are like atelier, or you know, there's all sorts of different things out there. But I am not the person to ask. I'm like one of those with like the worst reading disability ever. So don't do as I say, I guess.
That is another 20 minutes, so we're going to go on a short break. So see you all in a little bit. Hi, everybody. We're back from our short break, so we'll be starting up again.
All right. Let me put in some of this colloque.
We have a question asking, will you be going live monthly again, or are we just blessed for now? Love when you go live.
The goal is to continue to do live streams. I had several major commissions I had to finish, and we had trying to bring in the new artist in resident, and the next thing you know, before all your time is gone. And so, but we are back, baby, and hopefully we'll be able to do more of them. So we're doing 2 this month, and then the next month we will probably do another. And then usually for December, depending on, I do know that Jared and I talked about doing another live stream, and we're going to all do something together, probably the day after his workshop. So he's going to join us for one of those. He said that would be fun and exciting. So, so stay tuned. We're going to do several more, at least for the next several months. So it also gives us an excuse to come in here and paint ourselves, or to paint, not ourselves. So don't want to give a false sense of what we're doing here. Next month, we are going to do the one we were going to do, which is paint your pet. So I was so sad that this is the second time that I've had to cancel on Rosie and painting her, which is I was so sad about, because I was looking so forward to it. But we had already had this idea planned for this month, so we decided to just shelf it until November.
Well, I'm excited for you to do a Rosie painting. And I know you're going to be, this is a long time coming.
Right? And she's just only the best dog that has ever existed in everness.
Yeah.
She is. So. I can confirm. I'm surprised there also hasn't been a Rosie painting yet, so we're all going to be looking forward to it.
So yeah, she is so deserving. So her daddy just has needed a moment. So I'm really excited. But I think everyone here gets the emotional support they need from Sweet Rosie. So every morning she'll come into your space, walk over and make sure that she gets her pets from you that day. She has to meet her pet quota from each person in the room.
It's true. She does her rounds to everybody, and she prefers walking on the carpet. So she'll find a carpeted area of the floor and just sit and look at you.
Yep.
That is so sweet.
Yep. The floor is lava, the hardwood floor. So she just bounces from island to island rug. Oh. My sweet baby girl.
We have from JK. Had a teacher once tell me to stop painting. If I did more, he'd break my arm. It was a compliment in brackets.
That is why subtext is important.
Yes.
All right. Temperature's not great.
I think we also have some more context from Evelyn. She previously asked the question about did you try a lighter background color to enable the overall positive area to be more distinct? She's mentioned, I think you misunderstood my question. It appears on the computer that the background is also as dark as his cowl, and it makes it hard to see the shape of the cowl and his head in the cowl.
This is definitely one of those areas where photography is so finicky. I distinctly have like one very clear lost edge from my position, which is fairly similar, I think, to the wide shot that's on Nate. But the entire like right side, so the back of the cowl, stands off of the background fairly distinctively. So from my perspective, I think the color relationship or the value relationship, more to the point, is working really nice because we have just enough areas of high contrast to where I can really tell what the cowl shape is all the way around, even where the edges get lost. I can infer where that boundary is. So we have that balance of like areas of contrast and areas where the values really run together. That being said, I wasn't the one who put the backdrop up. That would be Louis. So Louis, I'd love to hear more about like your thought process for the setup.
You know, I think that honestly, it wasn't much thought. I was just thinking about if you wanted to like do a bright orb, that it might be better to have sort of a contrasted dark scene in the background. So, so that's why I was thinking about that things would kind of get lit up more and give people opportunity to do some interesting things if they wanted to. And having a light background might reduce the feel or context of that. So I decided that I think that would be an interesting thought. But aside from that, there wasn't much past it. Also, we haven't done a dark background in a while, just in our sessions of painting here. So not on camera. So I thought it would be nice just for the change of scenery.
It's definitely a tricky one, I think, because as Chelsea mentioned, it's quite clear in person, but you know, darkness levels change from monitor to monitor and what device you're using. So
Totally.
you know, sometimes you do have to adjust. I see JK has said they have adjusted their monitor to see the edges.
And we'll brighten him up on the reference at least. There we go. So that people can see it a little bit better.
Yeah,
at least
so
on the
let us know if that's better.
I like hearing your answer to that question though, just because it's amazing how often the answer is like a very simple one.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, well, I didn't think too much about it. It's kind of, I like to think of it as like, you know, there's famous plein air painter, right? And they're out painting a landscape and he sets up and nobody set up in like the creek and he goes and sets up in the creek and he paints this insane painting of it. And then once he's painted that really beautiful scene of it, everybody's like, oh, and then you see 27 other people go and like try to paint the creek. And they're like, I can't believe, how did you like see this? And he's just like, I mean, I could have set up anywhere. It's more about how you paint the scene than it is about what the scene is. And so like often like you might have a setup where you might be in a situation where you're not happy with like how things set up because maybe somebody else did it for you, or you know, or maybe you don't like your position that day from the model. But I have seen incredible paintings done from almost any position, and so I always tell people, just think about how you paint it and how you paint it well, you know. So it's important to like get good lighting and all of these other things. I mean, I'm not saying that's not true, because it is, but it's also one of those things where I think it's more about not what you paint, but how you paint it, that also can make it really interesting and beautiful.
It's kind of like a nice counterpoint to the conversation earlier about it's really hard to overcome a poor setup, whether that poor setup is, you know, not being prepared with your materials or not having the model well lit or working off of a reference that's not particularly strong. It, yeah, kind of serves as like a little bit of a counterpoint to that, or at least like adding nuance to it. But
I mean, lighting is very important, and it's always better to set yourself up for success. You know, and so you're absolutely right that there are times where it's going to be better. You're going to set yourself up for a much easier chance to get something right than lots of different ways of getting it wrong. But I think that the other point that we're trying to hit on is that if you're a skilled painter, almost any scenario, you can make something really beautiful out of it. And so part of your learning journey is about overcoming the challenge that you might have with your scenario, because that's its own set of skills. I always go back to Odd Nerdrum painting a brick. And it's just like this simple brick that's like dead center of the painting, very symmetrical, like breaks all the rules. And yet it's so beautifully painted, and I could just look at it for hours and hours. And so I love using that as or Michael one time painted these sticks. And I remember him saying that, like, Nellie, his wife, was like, "You're going to go paint some sticks?" You know? And he's like so excited about it. And it was just the way her like brother had stacked them or something to get ready to be like used as firewood. He goes out and paints them, and he paints them incredibly well, to the point where I think it was the Barletta family that ended up buying it, but he ended up having to do like one or two more because there are so many people that wanted the sticks.
yeah, I feel like, you know, it becomes a little bit less about absolute rules and instead knowing what is it that resonates for you, like what aligns with the kind of painting that you would be successful making.
Yeah.
And so in this case today, you know, we don't have Nate set up this way because of like some objective rule of composition. But there are advantages that like work for both of us, for sure.
We have a hello from South Africa, from Sandil. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Oh.
And they've said they love our work so much, and they've been learning quite a lot from last year's East Oaktober. Great paintings as always.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's so cool.
The East Oktobers that we did in the past 2 years were so much fun. Really challenging to get it all put together, because I mean it was every day for a whole month. But we are planning on doing that again, more than likely next year. We want East Oaktober to be like a new and interesting challenge each time. It doesn't have to be like that it has to be every day. Maybe it'll be something else, but that we use as an opportunity to be able to connect with our audience and every season. And I feel like that it's become one of our things, you know, which I'm really excited about. And look forward to it every year.
Tia has commented, throwing a bunch of sticks on the ground is how many metal bands get their logos. And then has continued, in all seriousness, that is one of the first lessons I had to do in college, just a bunch of bricks, sticks in a pile.
No kidding. Look at that. So everyone tell me what projects you're working on out there in the world. You know, do y'all have any passion projects, things, shows you've got coming up? Tell us what's going on in your world. Always love hearing what's going on with other people. Chelsea has a dance competition coming up soon, don't you?
I do. It is on Saturday.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Do you feel ready?
I don't feel ready to to be at full energy at 7 o'clock in the morning. Yes,
Yeah.
that is the major concern that I have at the moment. You would be just fine.
I would be in my element.
Yeah, you would be at peak energy.
Ready to go.
But no, it's been a really cool, like, improvement season.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, I love dancing because I love dancing, but I also love how it informs painting. I feel like
Yeah.
getting better at any athletic discipline very much mirrors like the journey of improving with your paint.
Yep.
And yeah, I often find that a lot of the like strategies that I'm using like come back to my painting. So in this particular season, I haven't been dancing with my normal partner.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been learning all of my choreography with a completely new partner. Or I shouldn't say completely new, but new for this choreography. And this is her first time leading, and also like a very different experience following. God, I hope I don't fall. Following.
Have you ever followed a female before?
Not with this level of choreography, no. And like physically speaking, it is a very different experience. I have to be like much more aware of my own balance versus kind of trusting that if I might wobble, that she's got me.
Yeah.
And that's just been really cool. I feel like it's made me a lot stronger and more capable.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that shows up for all the people that we dance for, but at the very least, I know the impact that's had for me. And there's also been a lot of interesting work around breathing and relaxation, but yeah, it's amazing how much of that stuff is applicable back to painting. So many like mindset things you have to consider.
Yeah.
We have another comment from Tia saying, I put up a wall of shame, old unfinished works that are screaming to be completed. Anyone ever feel nervous to finish some paintings? And before anyone has a chance to speak, I definitely relate. And I do think, anybody in a creative sort of position creating these things feels nervous to finish or to even continue an old piece. Sometimes setting them aside can do some good and let your eyes refresh before you start on them again.
This is such a great comment. Uh, I have full paintings framed in my house that we always joke that I go, oh, that's not finished yet. You know? And so this absolutely is a thing. But and sometimes they will get finished. I'm fearful that sometimes they won't. But I think that it is good to have paintings go in timeout.
That's exactly what I call it.
Yep. It's great.
They go in timeout when they're misbehaving.
Yep.
But like one of the things I'll think about in the studio is, do I actually know what has to happen on this painting in order to fix it? And if the answer is no, I better not fuss with it. I'm not going to figure it out just by like diving into it. Yes, like working on a painting, I think can be helpful to like give you some ideas to solve a problem. But if I don't actually know what needs to happen, like why do I think, like what hubris for me to think that it's gonna just suddenly come to me.
Totally.
And I think it kind of puts you back in that headspace of, oh, you made this one really beautiful stroke, and so you just keep doing it over and over. Mm-hmm. I think if you don't know what has to be fixed, you will fall into that trap. But I will say, this is like the beauty of being more of an alla prima painter. I like once a painting is done, I'm like, oh no, that's done.
Yeah, yeah, that is true.
I'll just paint it again if I'm not happy with it.
I think that's it's a great place to be as an alla prima painter. You know, much harder to make a decisive like this is done as a indirect painter.
Mm-hmm. It's actually like part of what drove me to it in the first place was that parable of
100 pots.
Yeah. Yep. This idea of like quality comes when you just put in a lot of repetitions versus just thinking about quality. And I think I managed to get better much more quickly because I told myself like it couldn't be perfect.
Yeah.
And I just kind of fell in love with alla prima oil painting in the process. But I think from a mindset perspective, it has just been really transformative.
Yep.
And I think that's a lovely note to leave it on, as we've done another 20 minutes. So we'll be taking a short break and then we'll be back in 5. So see you then.
I'll do this with glasses on
Okay,
now.
everybody, we're back from our break. So we'll go through some of the messages that you've left in the meantime as well, once we get everything sorted.
This galcid light dries fast, man.
You have JK working on a pot of flowers is giving me fits. I've sanded it down twice. Now the background is okay, but the flowers not so much. So another scraping down. That's always hard, isn't it? We also have another message from Sandil, our guest from South Africa. They've said, yep, it was evident you guys were having fun. I'm doing a series of self-portraits because October is my birth month.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, happy birth month to you.
We also have from Janine. I too am a dancer and painter. I understand how they affect each
Nate, could you
other
look back down to wherever you were looking? There we go.
and love watching you paint.
Hello to a fellow dancer. I love that. Yeah, I think the connection like really hit me when I saw this one dancer I knew go from total beginner to like extremely advanced faster than anyone else had seen someone do this. And it was through the equivalent of doing master copies. Like she just spent a ton of time studying other dancers and learning their choreography and comparing the difference between what she was doing to how they danced it and just dissecting it piece by piece until she was able to replicate it to a satisfactory degree. And yeah, I think it just drove home the value of studying what other incredible painters are doing, have done, and like giving yourself permission to really stand on their shoulders versus trying to reinvent the wheel.
We also have an exciting message from Christina. Hi everyone, it's my first time finally watching your session in live. I rewatched your last year's October sessions on the background while painting for my recent art show, and I got best in show.
Oh my gosh,
Hey,
congratulations.
congratulations. Well, we're happy that we got to be a part of your creating process. That's pretty awesome.
What was the subject matter of the painting that won? You know what? That was pretty nice, and then I ruined it.
We have a follow-up from Janine also, who had sent the message about dancing, saying yes, plus we understand the importance of basics.
Yes, basics.
Yes, for sure.
The fundamentals. it's funny. I was talking to one of my online mentees, and we were going over and how excited she was getting about the basics that we were having to go through. And she's like, I didn't realize how much I just needed the like isolated look at the process versus like the isolated practice. That's what I'm going for. Yeah, it's been a while since I've like painted and talked at the same time. This is good for me. and so how much she enjoyed and appreciated doing that isolated practice.
Yeah, that really like informed a lot of what I do now and how I teach, of like really trying to isolate one skill at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I mean, yes, this is the atelier approach, but also, you know, I think of the atelier approach a little bit like the Suzuki method,
Mm-hmm.
where yes, it is very effective. It is also very one track. There's like one outcome
Mm-hmm.
and one way to progress through the curriculum. And if you get stuck or you burn out, good luck. There's usually someone else who will happily take your spot, and that's it. So I knew that wasn't how I wanted to study for myself, but I did want to build something that was as proven and effective as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really my takeaway of like, all right, just look at what are all the skills that are like actively preventing me from painting the way I want to. List them out. Start with the single most basic one and design ways to practice that exact thing. That's it.
We have a lovely contrast between the two paintings now, because you have the darker background with Chelsea's, and then Lewis's still has the wider background of his panel.
Yeah, now we can figure out which one of us took the right approach.
I'm sure there'll be some background in the future. I just trying to focus on what will not be around, which is the model. So trying to
Yeah.
like, get some of
I think
those
it's
things down.
looking nice, like the way it's designed. I like the
Yeah, I kind of like the
background peeking
diagonals
through, and yeah.
Can't wait to put this like buckle in. I think that'd be kind of fun to like get a bit of that in.
I love that for you. Okay.
And Christina has also replied, it was a collection of floral and landscape paintings. I was part of an art show at an art festival, so my entire booth was judged.
Oh, cool.
That's awesome. It's always fun to hear about those.
Well, that is very much the incorrect value.
Now we're like trying to like get all these like likeness parts in, getting very concentrated, very quiet.
Yeah, I think it's like at this stage we can feel the end of the session coming.
Mm-hmm. Well, we have 40 minutes left total. Not even
I think
that.
we have like one session left, probably. Maybe two.
Maybe two, maybe one and a bit.
One and a bit.
It's currently 24 minutes past 6, if that gives you any idea. Well, while we're focusing, we have a lovely message from Christina saying, your tips and inspiring quotes are so universal that I feel like I can apply them to anything I paint at the moment and really appreciate your channel and your studio practice.
Oh, that's awfully sweet to say. Well, we hope we're here a long, long time so that we can continue to have our fireside chats, so to speak. I feel like Kai would be having a blast right now with us.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He'd already be like painting the orb.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I would be trying to cheat off of his homework.
Start humming here if we don't have any comments going on. So
Yes.
we don't want that.
Yes, if you have any questions, please send them into the chat while everybody is focusing on their painting.
Fina, I think you could do great ASMR content.
Right? Yeah, it's got that soft voice going on. I was just thinking about that. It's funny though, because like she's doing such a good job of just like speaking straight into the mic that I'm like having to like lean over a little bit and be like, what was it? What was it?
I'm in the danger zone now of don't do that. No. The danger zone of like, obviously there's a lot that can happen on this painting that would make it better, but figuring out what, I'm coming up a little short. So the hope is that I start to figure it out.
This is where you pull out the magic color.
Yeah. Is that magic white?
It just, yeah. It's a special color that makes everything right, that everybody wants to know the secret to.
What was the secret to Bob Ross's magic white? It was just that there was like an alkyd dryer in it or something?
I don't really know. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
But you're making me curious now. I kind of want to look it up.
Yeah.
If anybody in the chat knows, please let us know.
Yes,
yeah, we're gonna get
answering
Carla.
the important questions, the secrets of Bob Ross.
Carla's going to be in the background looking it up for us. Nice.
We also
The
have
magic white.
we have a hi from Sydney, Australia. Nice
Wow.
work. I wonder what time it is over there.
Here's one place where my really liberal use of the calculite is kind of biting me in the butt. I keep like working back into it, and it has such an unexpected, not texture, but it's really easy for me to like lift all the way back down to the canvas, but not in like a predictable way.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah, I'm definitely in that mindset of like, well, this is an interesting lesson I'm learning.
Combers come in handy with that kind of thing. Yeah, no. You're like,
Oh wait, I have one comber. I have one comber. This is it. This is your time to shine.
this is your moment.
Wow, it really did just as bad as the ivory.
No, really?
Yeah. Although this is an eclipse long flat, so it's not quite a comber, but still. No, I really gobbed the medium on to try and get that like gamsol feeling.
Mm-hmm. Hanging in there, buddy?
We have a note from our Australian visitor. She's mentioned it's 9:30 a.m. on Thursday right now.
Oh, wow.
Which is cool.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, and just as I said that, we have Linley. Hi from Auckland, New Zealand. It's 11:30 a.m. here. Lovely morning watching you both paint. My first time watching live. I'm
Oh,
working my
wow.
way through the catalogue of live streams as I paint.
That's wonderful. Well, hopefully we'll be putting some more on there so that you'll have more on the catalog to go with and to watch. We'll say it's been kind of great knowing that it has been a quality thing for so many people to at least have in the background, because painting can be kind of a lonely occupation sometimes. So having something that's really nice in the background feels like it keeps you company.
Yes, definitely, especially if you're not at the liberty of having a studio to work in or other artists to talk to. It's always nice to be able to hear, those conversations about painting and how people are working on their pieces. And with that, that is also another 20 minutes. So
Wow, that
we
one went by
will-
fast.
Yeah, it really did.
So,
Nate's probably going to speak for yourself.
Yeah.
Oh.
so we'll be taking a short break
felt like
and we'll be back.
Felt like 20 minutes does feel like.
Hi, everybody. We're back from our break and we'll be starting our last session of the evening.
One more. One more.
What are you working on in the studio right now?
I've been working on some little studies for a series of paintings that I'll be starting soon, and also revisiting some master copies. I think that's always such a valuable thing to do, no matter what stage you're
You
at.
look down
Yeah,
again.
it helps
Nick?
always to return and, just do a little master copy. And I feel like sometimes when I get stuck, and I'm like not too sure what direction to go to, it kind of like is a nice little reset.
Yeah, 100%. I remember, I think this was, maybe it was like Josh Clare. Someone had like visited his home and you walked in it, and it looked like he had all of these paintings from like contemporary painters, but that wasn't actually what it was. It was that his house was filled with master copies he had done from contemporary
Love that.
painters. It's weird because like, we're not gonna publicize master copies because like what if the painting that we're copying hasn't sold, or the artist who is still living who made that piece wants to use it to promote their work. But
So living master copies.
yeah, exactly. But I think they're such a fundamental part, like whether we're talking about old masters or living masters. But I think people are more apt to talk about the old master copies.
If they had done one, yeah.
Yeah. But I think if there is a technique that really is a more contemporary one, and you're trying to study in order to better understand that technique, well, it probably makes sense that you would be studying from a living master to practice that particular thing.
We have a comment from Gail saying, okay, for those who dare, there's a potential for a huge brain drain / learning opportunity. The East Oak Studio live stream on the 22nd of October, followed immediately by the Painting Society of America webinar by Mark Pugh.
Ooh.
Oh, that's cool.
We also have a comment from Peter saying that blue is very lapis lazuli blue. Is it ultramarine plus cobalt? Question mark.
I personally don't have any cobalt on my palette. This is all ultramarine, and I've actually toned it down a little bit with some transparent oxide brown in places. I don't know about Louis though.
I have lots of cobalt.
Really, you have
Lots of
Interesting.
cobalt. Yep. I've got lapis lazuli as well as cobalt on there. So a little bit of both of them. Or more commonly known as ultramarine.
They're not technically the same pigment though, right?
One, it's now chemically made,
Okay,
but
I see.
but no, it is. It's the same molecular makeup.
Gotcha. How was it originally Mined?
Mined in a mountain in Afghanistan. It was one of the only places that you could get it.
Wow.
So, and it would have to come across the sea. I think it was the Caspian Sea.
I really like that I'm now slowing you down.
And so the reason it's called ultramarine is because it had to cross the sea. It had ultramarine. So, little fun fact.
That is a fun fact.
So, but then in the 1800s, they found a way to synthetically make it, and the rest is history. But it was more precious than gold at the time, and it was only used for royalty and paintings that were, Christian or religious paintings. Was their main use for it, because it was just so expensive, and you had to have a patron be able to give it, be able to back and fund the whole project and all sorts of stuff.
This reminds me of my one tube of actual manganese.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just gonna sit until I know exactly what that sucker's for. All right.
Now, is it manganese violet?
It's manganese blue.
Manganese blue. Gotcha.
Yeah.
I love my manganese violet. I use it all the time.
Is that one the same rarity or discover creation process as the blue, or are they?
I would think that they have a similar process. I don't know what the process is for that one.
Yeah.
But you got piquing my interest now. I should find out.
We have some lovely compliments. We have from Jolyn, beautiful work, both of you. And then also from Sandil, I agree with Christina. The tips, quotes, and studio practice are one of a kind, if not the only. I'm inspired to incorporate them into my own art studio that I'm busy setting up. And it's 35 past 12 this side at nighttime, so it's close to 1 a.m. That's so late.
Oh, wow.
It is late.
It's so cool to have you here, though.
It is.
Yes, thank you for joining.
We're flattered to have you when we know that, it was a bit of a sacrifice to be able to stay up that late. Good grief. Some people it's not. For me, it would be. My brain shut down at 9. Yep. Nate, our model, you're a night owl, right, Nate? You'll start painting late at night, right?
That was the first thing I did today.
That's incredible.
We're on our last 10 minutes of today's live stream, so any last questions, please let us know and we'll do our best to answer them.
Might leave the buckle for another time if all
You're not
I've got is 10 minutes.
Like the wild man.
Yeah. It's one of those decision things we were talking about earlier. You know, it's like, oh, why don't I do this when I only have 10 minutes left?
All right, I don't know.
Don't do it.
Some
Don't do it,
dog
Chelsea.
hair in my brush. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. It's happening. No, I'm gonna put my name on it. I don't think I signed the last one.
I have the biggest issue, like signing stuff before I go deliver it to my client's house. There'll be so many times where like, where did you sign it? I'm like, I always do that at the end.
I like to do
Just
it in
wanted to
front of
make
you.
sure,
Here,
yeah. Just wanted to make sure that y'all liked it first.
Make a big deal, like, sign
Yeah, exactly. It's a performance
it.
thing,
I-
you know.
It'd be funny if one of these days, because my signature is like a bunch of marks in a row, if I accidentally just put one too many letters in my name.
I could see that happening to me. You know, totally make that happen. You're like, what?
All right, now the question, like yours has such like normal skin tones in it, and mine looks like we're at a rave. And I'm like, do I need to make it look a little bit more believable?
Well, you've got like about 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Actually, you have a whole nother session.
That's true. I forgot about that. But like, am I actually gonna do that? That's the question. My patience for working back into something is minimal. I think I'm just as likely to pick a new spot and take my learnings from this session and try and apply them.
We have another question from JK. Any tips for painting fabric? Big brushes seem to be better.
Yes, I would say think about it, the planes of the whole of the fabric. You know, the fun thing about this fabric is it has a little bit of that like velvety quality that kind of shines in the right spots, which is loads of fun to paint. But that's something to consider, is like where the planes are. And then I like to also think about like some of the edge quality of where the creases are, and then leaving your planes a little bit more exposed. I think that's a good kind of rule of thumb or practice. Yep.
I can't compete with that advice, so I'll take a different tack and say, I think considering what fabric you paint is really important. Like Louis had commented on the velvet that we're working with here. I can't tell you how often I will have a painter who is working on something like a portrait, say, and they have their model just in like a t-shirt, and they don't understand why the fabric doesn't feel a certain way, and it's because it's not a certain way. So I think just being intentional with your choice and making sure that like what you are working off of does indeed look really beautiful there in person. It already feels like a painting. It already has an interesting drape to it. It has, you know, interesting highlights or edge relationships, etc. I think that will set you up for a lot of success.
Yeah, making it nice, lovely drapery. Making sure you put that lovely drapery in there. I agree. I mean, that's a great point.
Yeah. It could be totally not applicable to, I think it was JK who asked that. Is that right? Yeah. Like you might already have a fabulous setup and only be asking about the actual brush to canvas parts of it. But yeah, for that, I would refer to Louis' suggestions, honestly. It's just so much bluer than I painted it.
Well, Nate would appreciate it.
I'm gonna try my best.
Blues are still some overboard. Or they
Wow. Well, you know, my thing there is if everything's blue, nothing is, you know? So that way you allow...
really to frame how blue the blue is.
Exactly. Love that.
See what.
Yep.
And sometimes things are
We always talk about here, you know, in the Incredibles, you have the villain in the very first one named Syndra, and he wants to like make all the villains super, but no one is. I always think if you have a super color, but you make everything that color, then nothing is. Like it loses its power. And so I love that you're reinforcing the other color around it in order for blue to shine.
Everyone let me know in the chat, am I making good decisions?
We have another question from Christina saying, what varnish do you prefer to use? And have you tried a matte finish varnish? I like the look of satin varnish, but I really struggle with application. I can't seem to get it to look right.
Huh. What about the application isn't going as planned, out of curiosity? I will say my go-to varnishing video is an East Oaks varnishing video that is, yeah.
One of the OGs.
Yeah, I saw it on Facebook for the first time, and anytime someone asks me about varnish, I say, go watch this demo. Yeah, I believe what you say in there is that the final varnish of choice is Conservar, but you do need the painting to be fully cured, so like one year. If you are, and that's going to add UV protectant as well as like the physical barrier and adding a gloss back to the piece if you need it. But in the interim, Gamvar is the go-to as a retouch varnish. It can go on as soon as it's touch dry. I'll be honest, I've never put Conservar on anything. I always just put Gamvar on it and call it good.
And for most people, I think that would be good.
Yeah. And, you know, in theory, like if you're not displaying the piece in direct sunlight, I don't think Conservar is going to really be make or break. But yeah, you have like a great application thing. I think you talk about like beading and the importance of keeping that application layer thin. I personally haven't done any satin varnishes, but depending on the application issue that you were describing, it could be something as simple as what's covered in that video.
Yep. The beading thing is what a lot of people seem to have a issue with, especially with GAMVAR. And what it is a surface tension problem. So the surface of the varnish is more attractive than it wanting to adhere to the surface that you have. So it tends to attract itself and bead up, and it doesn't adhere to the surface. And there's several reasons why that happens. One of them, you can actually have your paintings dry too long.
I did not know.
Yeah, where then it there's not. Just think about it, like it's less sticky in a way. So like it, so there's a little bit of that going on. So you should consider. But another thing you can do is you can put the Conservar on first, and then put the GAMVAR on top. And what that does is that it takes a much stronger solvent to get the Conservar off. So if you put the GAMVAR on top, not only would it adhere really well, but it also creates a sacrificial layer that you can then, anytime there's tons of dust and you need to clean it, you can take that layer off and the Conservar will stay. And then you can reapply the GAMVAR back on top.
Yeah, I remember that was like one of my key takeaways from that video. And I remember being like, oh, I'm going to do this. And I never have actually taken a painting and let it dry for that long, honestly. But
we are just at 7. We have a few more questions.
Oh, perfect.
So we can ask those.
You can relax then.
Yes. From JK, we do have to Chelsea. Your decisions look spot on to me.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
And we also have from Sandil. Do you have any advice on framing and shipping to clients? I'm really nervous about glass and that it might break and ruin the work versus rolling and shipping in tubes when the clients have to get frames. That's a bit of a complicated one.
That really will depend on the medium. So if you're working in oil, you wouldn't typically be putting an oil painting behind glass, which makes the shipping piece much easier. Personally, I would not, when I think about glass, I'm thinking about pastel, charcoal, graphite, works that are generally on paper, and I would ship those in a tube. I would tube ship them, and I would have glassing over the piece, and I would give the client instructions on how to safely transport that to a framer who can properly handle that piece with care. So if they are oil paintings, good news. You don't need to worry about, stress out about the glass. But as far as how to ship something, one suggestion that Tina gave me, actually, which was really smart, was if you are ordering a frame for a piece, to keep the box that the frame is shipped to you in, and then go ahead and install the piece in the frame, cover it with glassine or some kind of other archival protective layer, and then you can ship as is. But I wouldn't ship anything in glass. The chance of the glass breaking and then damaging the piece is just too high.
I feel like that's sound advice. So that's right at 7?
Or actually 5
Passed.
over.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, Nate, for your first model session. We truly appreciate it. It is awesome. And we look forward to session number 2. Everyone else, join us. We'll be coming back in 2 weeks, same time, same place. And hopefully we'll have all of our ducks in a row and get all the live stream stuff finished out. So thank y'all again for a wonderful evening. Thanks for joining us, and happy painting in your area of the world.